Okay, can we see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Okay, let me make this a slideshow.
I think there's someone requesting to join.
Just a minute. Hi, Esther. Welcome. Okay, so because I've seen people struggle when it comes to, analyzing a role, right? And this job analysis in question now is at the point where you've identified, a role, meaning that the role is vacant, there is an urgent need or a critical need to fill that role as soon as it can be, right? So this is like a template to guide everyone. So in our next class, I would need you to use this, draw up your own job analysis templates that you can use in recurring, recruitment exercises as your way of, gathering data to understand the role better. So the first thing we have here is job position. Now a role has been identified. What is the role? How many of us have experienced situations where we are being told that, oh, I need a salesperson. A salesperson is not a role. It's not the job position. It's just telling you that they need someone who can do sales. But what specifically is the job title? What specifically is the job position? So there are times I've been speaking with HRs, even managing directors, and they're telling me, oh, I need a chief marketing officer. And in the rest of asking them, what do you want this chief marketing officer to be doing? And then I'm hearing this person will be driving business development. This person will be giving a target. And I'm like, it's not tallying. You need a chief marketing officer, but yet you want this person to come and drive sales. Does it mean, but of the truth, some marketing people drive sales through their marketing efforts, through their marketing activities, but they are not the ones to drive actual sales. What they cannot do is, partner with they cannot partner with like the business development team or the sales team. They can put strategies in place to ensure that every lead that they are getting, there is conversion. And in terms of having this conversation, I'm hearing, oh, this person will be giving targets, or this person will be required to manage our sales team. And I'm like, maybe what you want is not a chief marketing officer, or maybe you're just giving it a glorified nomenclature. Maybe what you need is maybe a business development director, for example, or a business development and growth director. So again, I've seen cases where, HRs, sometimes they know against things like this, because in the long run, it would affect your ability to attract the right candidates for the role. Again, imagine you're having a CMO in your JD and the content of the JD are speaking more to business development. You're confusing your targets, your targeted talents. You're confusing your targeted audience, because they'll keep asking themselves, do you need me to come and do marketing in the sense of digital marketing, brand positioning, what's the word now, corporate corporate communications and whatnot, or do you want me to come and drive sales for you? So again, as trivial as this may seem, it can also mar the outcome of your recruitment process. So when you're being told, oh, and even when you hear things like, oh, we need HR, ask questions. HR as in HR, what do you want? A HR generalist? Do you want an HR BP? Do you want an HR whose experience is more streamlined to learning and development? Do you want an HR person with a bias for recruitment? So be clear on the position. Even when you're being told the role is business development, you also need some form of clarity. This business development person, let's say, for example, you're working in an organization that has different products, or you're working with an organization that have different subsidiaries, right? And then you're being told we want a business development person. So you should also be asking questions. This business development person, do you want someone with experience selling so and so products, or would this person be selling all the organization's products? So you want to know. So that way, you know that you have a very clear position or title that befits the role you're about to work on. So moving on to why is the role open? Again, it is very important as HR that we build our confidence level. Because if we take everything that is being thrown at us, it will affect how we do things. It will even affect the outcome of what we are trying to achieve. So every HR needs to be as audacious can be. And every HR needs to build the experience of probing, asking the right questions. You need to probe and probe and probe until you're convinced that you have the right answers to your questions. So it is very important. That's how HR gets a seat at the top. If you're the kind of HR that just takes whatever it is that is being thrown at you, you just continue to be a yes sir, yes ma'am person. So whatever it is you're doing, whatever instruction direction that you're getting from the top, don't just jump right at it. If it's possible, call for a meeting. Find a time that works for your line manager, whoever it is that has assigned that project to you. Find a time where it will be convenient for them so that you can have sessions, you can have meetings with them to help you build your understanding of what is expected of you. So that in the long run, by the time you're not presenting, what's it called now, the project based off what you have done, you're not being told, oh, this is not what I was expecting. Go back again and do it all over again. So it increases, the work pressure. It doesn't help you save time. You're going back again to repeat what you would have gotten clearly from the get-go if you've taken your time to understand the demands that have been, made on you, or whatever demands that whatever demands that they've placed on you. Okay, so let's move on to why is the role open? So at the point where a role has been identified, you've gotten clarity as to specifically what the position is. The next question is, why is this role open? For those who are doing recruitment, in fact, don't joke with this question. For those who are doing talent acquisition, in-house talent acquisition, you might be in a position to know why the role is open. But again, don't work on assumption. If you're not very clear as to why the role is open, sometimes for people who are doing TA, if we have a full house, for example, and we ask people who are doing TA, there are times that someone is in a role and the person's position is open. And even this person does not know that their position is open. And TA as well might not know that this person's position is open, because there's a confidential work going behind. So imagine if TA doesn't ask the right question and TA just assumes that, oh, maybe the role is open because they need extra hands. That is where the mistake starts from. So do not joke with this question. Why is the role open? Don't just work on assumption basis. Ensure you ask the right question. You get to know. Now, you asking why is the role open? Sometimes as well, when you're engaging hiring managers, it is important that you also help them understand your questions. Because like I said, some hiring managers don't even know why they want to fill a role. Because in all honesty, everybody is busy at work. Everyone has their own deliverables. Everyone has their own responsibilities when it comes to the workplace. So it is your job as a recruiter, as a TA person, as an HR person, to help them understand, the responses that you need from them. So when you ask them, why is this role open? Don't just leave it at that. Go the extra length to ask, are we replacing for this role? Or are we filling this role because it's for a replacement purpose? Meaning the person occupying the position probably has just tendered their resignation. Are we filling this role because the business is looking to expand and they need more persons into a particular team or department? Are we trying to fill this role because maybe it's for the purpose of succession, or we are looking to promote the person who is currently playing that in that capacity, and we need someone else, to fill in the gap when this person moves up the ladder? So help your hiring manager understand whatever questions you're also throwing at them. Remember, what we are doing now is job analysis. We are gathering data to point us in the right direction. So the next here is objective of the role. What is the objective of the role? Sometimes when I ask HR directors this question, even they themselves, it comes to them as a shock. They are being thrown aback by the question, what's the objective of the role? Okay, how do I want to? We just want someone that can come in and just drive our business goals. Many times that's the response that I get. Now again, I help you understand. How would you say this role contributes to your business goals? It is your job to help whoever it is you're asking this question, whoever it is you intend to gather the data from. It's your job to help them understand your question, because if you don't help them understand your question, you will not get the right answer to your questions. So the next is reporting structure. Now, depending on the size of a business, there are structures in place. There might be hierarchical structures, right? Some firms can operate on a lean basis where everybody's reporting into the managing director, or where everybody's reporting into the operations director. Now, depending on where you are, depending on the organization you're supporting, depending on the size of the business, there is a need for you to know the reporting structure, because the reporting structure would also help you know what's it called now, how senior the role is. And again, who a role is reporting into can help you understand the kind of person that will be able to thrive in that role. If, for example, now the line manager is someone that is very big on paying attention to details, or the line manager for that particular role is someone who is very big on punctuality, or the line manager is someone who is very big on, meeting deadlines, or the line manager is somebody who on finesse, or somebody who is very big on, fluidity when it comes to communication. You must be outspoken, your communication must be very fluent. You must not have to just go straight to the point when you're speaking. Again, who the person is reporting into will help you know the behavioral tendencies that will be required for that role, or what you need to pay attention to when it comes to the behavioral tendencies of talents you'll be engaging for that role. So it's very important. Now, reporting structure. You want to know who the role will be reporting to. You also want to know who will be reporting into the role. Again, this is important because this will also help you be able to assess the leadership capacity of potential candidates for the role. So if, for example, a role is expected to report into the managing director, right? Again, you don't just want anybody who cannot hold their own end, who is not accountable for their own actions, to report into the managing director. That person will be a body on the managing director. So it helps you to even know what kind of leadership skills does this person or would these people be required to have for them to fit into the role. Again, if the role is supposed to manage a team of 5 or 15, having this information will also help you to know anybody that I'm getting for this role must have led teams, or must have led in a managerial capacity, where this person has at least managed, let's say, even worst case scenario, minimum of 3 persons in their team who is reporting to them. Because if you have a role that the team that will report into that role is, like, say, for example, now 10, and the person or the people that you're speaking to, they've never managed a team, it's going to be chaotic for that person within the first 6 months. People management, as simple as it seems, requires a lot. And someone who doesn't have that mental maturity, by virtue of their experience leading teams before, would struggle in that role. Also, sorry, I think someone is trying to join in. Okay. So someone who has never worked or led in that capacity, if being considered within the first 6 months, might struggle, to fit in properly into the role. And that's why it's very important for you to do your job analysis and do it well. So moving on to the next, right? So we have how would we measure success in this role? Now, when you ask this question, don't just leave it at that. Start from what are the immediate metrics we want to measure success on. When this person joins us immediately within the first 1 to 3 months, how would we define success? So that's your immediate metric. You move it on to, okay, within the short term. Short term can be 6 months to 1 year. How would we define success in this role? You move it to medium term to long term. So that when you're bringing in anybody, you're checking their capacity. If the business wants, for example, if it's a business development role, let me still stick to the accountant role. If it's an accountant role, for example, if success within the first 3 months is someone who will be able to help us set what's it called? Will be able to help us set up controls in place or processes in place, so that all our backlogs for payee and pension is remitted within the first 3 months. Let's say, for example, that is immediate metrics for success that has been given to you. So this would help you so that in the process of engaging, suitable candidates for that role, in your assessment of the candidates, you're asking them, can you walk me through your processes, or what systems, or what have you done when it comes to statutory remittances? For an organization that doesn't have a system in place, or doesn't have a defined structure in place for payroll remittances or pension remittances, how would you set it up? Why are you asking this question? Because you have been opportune to know that this is what success would be measured on within the first 1 to 3 months. So it's very important that you gather data on this particular question when you're conducting your job analysis. Okay, so moving on. How soon do you want to fill, or do we want to fill this role? This is important because, for example, now if you've been given, let's say 3 to 5 roles to work on, this would even help you to know where to focus your attention on. What roles would you tag as critical or top priority? And that way, you know where to channel energy on. Because if you don't ask this question, you wouldn't know exactly how to map out, your plans around, working in line with the timelines that have been assigned to you. So you want to know, how soon do you want to fill this role? Again, this will even help you because the average notice period of any candidate or any professional, let's say in the corporate space, is usually, let's say, one month. For those who are at mid-level, senior management level, let's say the average is 1 month. You still see some who have as much as 3 months notice period, right? And then for those at entry level, junior level, supervisory level, you get things like maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, max, let's say 1 month, right? So if you don't understand this question, if you didn't ask this question, right, and you're engaging a candidate who tells you that my notice period is 3 months, and your organization needs somebody, or the hiring manager needs somebody who can resume within the space of 2 weeks, you can see how this affects your recruitment outcome. So it's very important that you gather information on this. It helps you know the timelines you're working with, right? If your company says we want somebody, we want you to be able to fill this role, let's say within the space of 4 weeks, and we need the person to resume, let's say within, let's say first week in March or April, you know exactly the timelines. And again, it even helps you to properly plan out your schedule from the sourcing to the from the screening of applications to the sourcing to the interviews. It helps you to properly map out your schedule, from the start to the very completion of the entire recruitment exercise. Okay, so moving on to the next, who is an ideal candidate for this role? Now, you can see now that you pose this question as specific and as clear can be. Because if you're speaking with the hiring manager, you want them to tell you, how would you define, or who would you say your ideal candidate for this role would be? So let them tell you, let them talk to you. Why? Because it is the person, it is a hiring manager that would be supervising this person, and it is them that know exactly what they're on the lookout for in an ideal candidate. So let them tell you about their definition of an ideal candidate. So hear them out. So moving on, we now have here, in what location would the ideal candidate be expected to work from? Now, for organizations that have, let's say they have the head office, and then they have, other locations, other branches, or other outlets, right? You don't just want to assume again that, oh, this role is going to be domiciled within the headquarters. We need people who will be coming to work from the head office. It's very important for you to know the specific location that this person will be working in. If, for example, the role is targeted at expansion basis, and maybe that expansion is regional expansion, or let's say area expansion or territorial expansion, this is very important for you to know exactly where will the workstation of this person be, where will this person be expected to resume to every day to work. You want to have that information. I think one of the things I don't know if it's also spelled out here is the work structure, right? In some companies have flexible flexible work structure, meaning some persons are required to work fully remote, some persons are required to work on site, some persons are required to work hybrid. So they just have different flexibility around it, in the sense that it is not streamlined, because some companies do this so that they can also build their employers' value proposition, and so that they can meet as much convenience level of their employees, because whereby because your policy is sticking to just hybrid, and there is a good reason why someone has come up to the company or to you to request for remote, you won't say, oh, well, we'll have to terminate because it's not in our company's policy. So we shouldn't have those kind of flexibilities, right, just to accommodate the needs of the employees, as long as the person can deliver value at the end of the day, right? So you need to also know the structure in place for this particular role, because if, for example, now your company has different flexibilities around work, and maybe for the role in question, it's a role that demands on-site presence Monday to Friday, and you're working with the knowledge that, oh, our company has a flexible arrangement when it comes to work structure, and in the process of you engaging candidates, you're telling them, oh, it's flexible, right? However, in the course of the process, leading up to interviews, right, with the hiring managers, interviews as progression advanced level, and in the course of that person meeting with the hiring manager, the person is being told that, oh, your role requires on-site, and this person pulls out of the interview process, you will have to come back again to that role. So if you had gotten the right information from the outset, it helps you to cut down on these tendencies. It helps you to mitigate this kind of risk that might arise in the course of the recruitment exercise. Okay, so moving on, we have, is this meant to be a permanent contract, seasonal, project-based role? Again, it is not good to assume. If the role is meant to be on contract and you put it out there that the role is meant to be on permanent basis, this can lead to people pulling out of the process at the point where they are being told that it is a contract role, because their beliefs or the information that they've gotten from you was that the role is a permanent role. So it might be difficult for you to now convince them that, oh, you're sorry, that the role is going to be contract. So many times they won't stay, they will leave. And all of this boils down to the kind of experience you want this candidate or this talent to have. Again, remember that it is your job to also define your candidate experience journey. What kind of experience you want your candidates to have, from the very outset of the recruitment process to the very completion of the recruitment process. You need to have it well defined. So moving on, what industries we want to attract candidates from? This is also a question that rarely gets asked. So you'll see that maybe because the company operates within the financial services industry, sometimes HR recruiters, TA just assumes that definitely it means that we need people from the finance space. And sometimes it could just be that the hiring manager doesn't even want people or persons from the finance sector. Maybe they need you to go get someone from tech. Maybe they need to go get someone from FMCG, based on the analysis of who would thrive on the role. But if you don't ask this question, it might be missed out. And if it gets missed out, you might come back again to restart the entire recruitment process all over again. Or you might end up attracting talents that are not suitable for the role. And in the long run, there might be a recruitment mismatch or a recruitment error. So all of these are very important before you embark on any recruitment exercise. So are there companies or industries we should not consider? Very important. Now, you might not be in the know, but I've seen cases where within the same industry, right, people at the top have what we call a gentleman agreement to say, don't come and poach people from my company, and I won't poach people from your company. I've also seen, this is not documented anywhere, they just have that understanding. Now, let's assume you didn't ask this question and you're working with, let's say, an Access Bank, and you're going to go and get people from a GT Bank. And this understanding has been established between them already. And you went ahead to get tons of CVs from GT Bank for that particular role. And as you're sending to the hiring manager, your hiring manager is rejecting them. Now, you don't know why your hiring manager is rejecting these profiles because you didn't ask. And because you didn't ask, the more you send profiles of those from GT Bank, the more your hiring manager rejects them. So it is important that you find out, are there companies, are there industries you don't want us to get candidates from, so that you're clear. And it also helps you define your recruitment strategy as well. Okay, so moving on. So what level or type of candidates do we want to attract for this role, right? So for companies that have hierarchical structures in place, you want to know the grade level. Are we looking for someone on a junior cadre? Are we looking for someone, at supervisory level, depending on your organization level? Some people will tell you they operate using analyst, senior analyst, what's it called, associate, and so on. Some persons just uses executive officer. Some persons you see what's it called, assistant manager, deputy manager, manager, and so on and so forth. So depending on the grade level that exists within the organization, it is important for you to know the level, the cadre. What cadre do we? What's cadre of what's the job cadre for this role? So that helps you know the level of candidates you should be attracting for. Because if you're to work on a role that requires someone, at middle level, let's say a managerial capacity, and you're going to go and get someone on junior level, it might be a mismatch. So you need to have this information from the very get-go of the recruitment exercise, right? So, and then you have here, are there non-negotiable criteria for this role? So it is important that you have this information. What are the compulsory requirements that any candidate must possess for this role? You want to have that information. And this non-negotiable criteria just helps you build a vivid picture of who your ideal candidate should be. Because if these are non-negotiable, it means that the company doesn't want you to compromise on them when you're identifying or attracting suitable talent for the role. Then we have the next one. What skills, qualifications should an ideal candidate possess for the role, right? You want to know. And that's why, again, remember I said, help your hiring manager understand the questions that you are asking them. Now, when you ask this question, you also want to go the extra length to help them understand, simplify it. By skills qualification, I'm talking about behavioral tendencies or behavioral skills, right? What attributes do you want to see in the person? What characteristics are you on the lookout for? What values do you want this person to hold dear to, as their own personal values? You want to ask these questions, right? For those of you that uses assessment tool, in your assessment, that psychometric assessment, you having this information would also help you know the kind of psychometric assessment, you're giving to potential candidates for the role. So you move on to the technical aspect of it. Based on technical competencies, what skills are you on the lookout for? What competencies, technical competencies do you want this person or these people to possess? You're also looking at the educational aspect of it. Again, remember I said earlier that in some organizations, sorry, I had to show you. In some organizations, there are already stipulated guidelines when it comes to educational requirements for any person that'll be joining that firm. So also ask yourself or try to find out if your firm has such in place, such policies in place, because that can also help guide you, as to the kind of educational background potential candidates or talents need to possess for them to be a fit for any of the roles internally. Then professional qualification as well. You need to know, would this role require people having professional certification? Is it a compulsory requirement, or is it nice to have or an added advantage? You also want to have this information. So again, you're moving on to what would a day on the job look like in this role. This is where you're trying to have like a simulation. You want them to tell you, because bear in mind that it is your job to help your candidates understand the role and the requirements of the role. The hiring manager would only do that at the point of interview. And that's why you as a HR, you need to build your knowledge of the role by conducting a detailed job analysis, because when you're well informed on the role, it even helps you to know what exactly, to assess, or how exactly to evaluate, potential candidates for the role. So you want to ask the hiring manager, what does a day, like a typical day on the job, what would it look like? From the time of resumption to the closing time, what would this person be doing? So the hiring manager should give you that insight, so that way you build on your knowledge as to what you need to communicate to potential candidates when you engage them further. So what is the growth plan and career growth paths and career development opportunities for this role? It is very important that you also have this information. Again, for those of you that have a hierarchy structure in place or a grade structure in place, you're able to determine that if this person is coming in, let's say, for example, as an associate, it could be that the next level for them will be as a senior associate. Again, growth is not just limited to level. Sometimes it can also be role expansion. But if you don't ask this question, you might just be thinking that growth for this role will just mean moving up the ladder, whereas growth for this role might mean role expansion. So it is important that you have these details, at early enough, because it would also guide conversations and engagements with potential talents. Okay, now career development opportunities. You also want to know, would this require trainings, external trainings? Would this require, let's say, international assignments? For those of you that work in multinationals, you want to have all of this information. Again, it is also your job, because sometimes, I don't know if I've said it, but okay, I think when we get to the part of candidate management, I will shed more light on that. When it comes to recruitment, there are two types of candidates that you might be engaging: active candidates and passive candidates. Now, for active candidates, you might not do so much when it comes to pitching a role to them, because it means they're actively searching. So you might not really need to do so much. Even though I usually advise that regardless of the type of candidates you're speaking with, it is still your job to still act in the capacity of a brand ambassador for your organization. Now, for passive candidates, there is a need for you to do more in the aspect of attraction. This is where you're not pitching your organization to them and giving them reasons why they should be a part of your company. For me, I see recruitment as well as sales, because I must sell my clients. I must sell my organization to candidates who are very good. Because if you're unable to convince a candidate that is very good, they will not show any interest. And that person might just be like the best thing that might happen to your firm if they join your business. So ensuring that you have this information ready at hand to use when you're conducting your talent attraction exercise, it is important that you get all of this information as early can be. If you know that career development opportunities, maybe they'll be sent on international assignments, maybe there'll be trainings here and there, maybe they'll be assigned some leadership kind of project that can help them to build competency. Get all of this readily available. Know them, so that you can also use that when it comes to driving your attraction message to suitable candidates. So the next thing is, what is the total emolument for this role? So you didn't just hear me saying what is the salary. Knowing the salary is not enough, because the salary, so even when people ask about salary, their focus is generally on gross salary. And we know that salary is split into your net salary, and then you have your gross salary. And many times people would like to tell you that they always like to negotiate on net. So Employees, candidates like to talk about net. Organizations like to talk about gross. So before you embark on a recruitment exercise, you must be able to know what the net salary for the role would look like, what the gross salary would look like, what are the benefits that comes with the role. Benefits in cash, benefits in kind. You want to know. What are the deductions that we apply to this salary? You want to know. Are there incentives exclusive of the salary that this person would enjoy? You want to know. So by the time you have all of these detailed out, so tell me, don't you have your job analysis? Don't you say you have conducted your job analysis? Yes, you have. And once you're armed with all of this information, you have a very clear direction as to what you need to do when it comes to any recruitment exercise. Any questions at this point? Questions.
For me, no questions so far. For now.
Okay, thank you, Esther. Any questions? Because we're about bringing the session to a close.
No question. I just wanted to clarify basically on the task, because you said by next week we would need to do something. And
yes,
I think when you spoke about
okay. Go on, please. Go on.
When you spoke about the requisition part, the form part, I wanted to ask if there was like a templated, because you asked if people had that. I don't have that. We don't have that in our organization. So I wanted to ask, like, is it the HR that draws it up, or is are there like
you're supposed to be the one to draw it?
Okay, to draw it up.
HR is required to draw it up, right? So because you'll be the one using that document. So don't wait for your hiring manager, to draw up. So even if your hiring manager sends you a mail to tell you that, or requesting for a particular role, it's your job to send them a detailed job requisition template that they should fill. So what I can do is I can just send that to you, but I usually would love you to draw yours up, but I will give you a template that can guide you.
Okay, thank you very much. Because I wanted to ask that, is it something we can like research, like go online
of
and
course.
check?
Yeah, you can research. It's also part of building on your knowledge. You can research into it. In fact, by the time you're doing this assessment, this would even help you to draw up your own requisition documents.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Chidima, for that. So any other question? Okay, so in the absence of that question, let me just okay, Becca, you can go on.
Yes, when you spoke about growth part, you mentioned that that means career expansion. So I just want to understand career expansion in what sense?
Role expansion.
Sorry, role expansion. Sorry, role expansion in what sense?
Okay, so let's assume now that let me use a role. Let's say an accountant role, right? Let's say the company brought in this person as an accountant, right? And let's say the company is using like a grade level. Let's say they're using executive officer. The next level will now be senior executive officer. Let's say this person comes in as an assistant manager, right? Ideally, you would think that the next level for this person, some companies will tell you that they have a one year promotion timeline, where they usually promote people subject to their performance. So you would have the assumption that if this person, let's say, meets up to like 80% of their performance, there's a very high tendency that this person will go to the next level. The next level being what? Being a senior, being a deputy manager, for example. However, that might not be the direction that people at the top, your hiring manager, might be on the lookout for. It could be that they need someone to come in as an accountant, for example, and along the line, they need this person to grow into a financial planning and analyst, what's it called now, or join the financial planning and analysis team, in the sense that there would be, plans in place development plans in place, where maybe this person will be enrolled on a fast track program to say within the next 6 months, we want you to have built capacity in such a way that you will build knowledge in all things that, or in the fundamentals of financial planning and analysis. So for that kind of expectation, it is not growing to the next level, it's a role expansion. Barclay, I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes, ma, you have. I understand it better now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so just to dwell a bit on job description, right? Now, for job description, in our last session, I said something about some persons trivializing job description. So I would want to hear from us. So how do you develop your JDs? What are the constituents of your job description? So this is an open question, so anyone can answer that question. What are the constituents? What and what do you have contained on your job description? And when you answer that question, not tell me how you use your job description to drive your EVP or to drive brand, what's it called now? How you use your JD to drive brand awareness and in some way attract talents. So there are no right, there are no wrong answers. I just want to hear from us based off our experience, or based off what we have been doing.
Okay, ma. So for my company, what we do is that we make use of the employee position form to write up or come up with the job description after it has been approved. So in the job description, usually we ask, we include, sorry.
Actually, I'm still with you.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I said, so in the job description, what we usually do is we just include the job title, the location if of where the job is going to be, and then the employment type. Then we also list out the department and then who you'll be reporting to. We also put a job summary and also the level of experience. Then we put your key duties and responsibilities, and then the qualifications of what qualifications we need from you, and then your skills and competencies. Sometimes we add the salary, sometimes we don't. So that's basically, and then how we use it to drive brand awareness is basically we usually put it sometimes we put it in a form with the company's name and then logo on it, just for it to look better and attractive to people that would want to apply.
Okay, thank you very much, Barclay. Anyone else wants to share?
Hi. It's similar to what Barclay said. Yes, so we use our company letterhead. So the document will reflect Jobberman, for example. So I work at Jobberman. So we put the name of the company, we put the title of the role, we mostly don't put salary range. I was going to ask later why you think salary should not be included in some JDs, or why it should be on some, because I noticed sometimes, most of the time, in fact, 95% of the time, we don't put salary range. Okay, so we don't put that actually. Then we put the experience, number of years of experience that is required for the role, the minimum qualification, whether BSc or SSc, depending on the role. We put relevant certifications will be an advantage, something like that, depending on the role. Then, of course, we now put the major, so some of the major tasks that are required, that you'll be doing rather on the job. We put the major ones. We can't capture everything because we're trying to just make it a one page most of the time. Yeah. Then we put location, of course, like she said, we put location, especially if it's not going to be Lagos based, because most times I think people generally just think every JD is for Lagos. So we put it there. Then the work mode, if it's hybrid or full time, we put it there. Then benefits, other benefits aside the salary, we also sometimes put it there, HMO, annual leave, pension and all of that, we put it there as well. I think that's majorly the things that are captured there. So for brand awareness, we put Jobberman, the title, the name of the company. Yeah, that's basically what we post on JDs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Esther and Barkley, for sharing. Ogun Dipe or Dipe, so sorry. Hope I didn't murder your name. Is the first name Ogun Dipe or Blessing? If you're speaking, you're muted. You may want to unmute yourself. Okay, so let's move on. So why did I ask you guys questions about, how you put up your job description? Remember that I said earlier that JD is also meant to be your filtering tool. And again, it should also be a tool for brand awareness and also a tool that you use to attract suitable talent in. Now, when Barkley and Esther answered my question, I was big on communication, right? I wanted to hear how you're going to tell me how you put out or what, is being contained in your JD. Now, you guys are very spot on when it comes to what you have shared with me, right? But when it comes to JD, I love to see some sort of creativity and innovation around JDs, because when I see things like that, it also gives me a picture as to the kind of people within the organization. When I just see a JD that is just very basic, job summary, job objective, responsibilities, right? In this age and time where people are putting in efforts to do a lot to attract talent, it tells me that, for me, I see it as maybe you're not very intentional about the kind of talent you want to bring on board. So I love to have this innovative and creative twist when it comes to JDs. Now, as regards the brand awareness, you said you're going to use your logo, which is very good. In fact, it's a true representation of your company, right? But one thing I also do extra when it comes to putting out JDs is having a section for who we are, or about, that's the name of your company, for example, about Jobberman, or what you need to know about Jobberman, right? I give that section in my JD so that anybody that comes across that JD, is reading up. And I try to ensure that my JDs are not like what Esther says, right? It is not too wordy, right? You want to see whereby in fact, once you start reading that JD, you'll be forced to read through to the end. Because I've seen JDs that when I see that, I just skip. When people see JDs, what are they looking for? They want to see the salary. They want to see the benefits. Sometimes they just go through to the responsibilities. But you want to ensure that you get the attention of your readers or your target audience so that they can read through the JD. And the only way where you can get their attention is to ensure that there is this creativity integrated into your JD that will want to compel people to not just see your JD and pass. They want to compel them to actually take their time to read your JD, because the average adult has a very short attention span. So you also want to ensure that you grab their attention as much as you can. And for you to be able to do that is by ensuring that there's some sort of creativity in how you have, what's it called now, mapped out your JD. That's on the one side, right? Now, on things like, for example, Esther said you put out HMO, right? Your HMO. Now, it's very important that when you get to that part, you can have things like what you benefit, or things like our promise to you, or our value proposition to you. Just that's the same thing I'm making reference to. You pointed out to the creative twist to it, so that it can be a sweet read or a sweet ride for any potential talent. Now, on the aspect of filtering, right? Esther asked the question. She said she was going to ask that why don't we put, or why is it that people don't put salaries on JDs? It's your call to make, right? There is no policy anywhere that says don't advertise JDs. Sorry, don't advertise salaries on your JDs. It can be your own personal take on it. For me, for example, 70% of the times, I don't like advertising salaries. Why? Because I'm also trying to ensure that I don't attract the wrong kind of people for the role I'm working on. Recently, for example, I'm working on a C-suite role, right? And the remuneration for that role is in the region of 120 to 150,000 USD. So imagine that I advertise this role and I'm putting the remuneration. Do you think people will want to read through the JD? Answer my question. Do you think people want to read the JD?
No, no.
What do you think they'll be after?
The money.
The money. All they will just want to do is just shoot in the application and then they'll go and do prayer and fasting. They want to go and pray and fast that God, please let them be called up for interviews. So, but there are certain roles as well that I advertise my JD, I advertise salary zone. So I'm advertising salary for those roles so that anybody who is applying for that role will not come in with so many expectations, thinking that we can stretch. For roles like that, I want it to be very clear that as long as you're applying for this role, this is what we have to offer. So it can be your own personal decision, subject to how you intend to filter candidates for the role. So you can tell, I'm giving you two ways I try to use my JD to filter. The first one, I do not want to attract candidates. I don't want you whereby the money is their motivation. The second one, I want anybody applying for the role to know that this is the salary. Because if you see that this is the salary and you expect, for example, now the role I'm looking for, I need people, you know, who are open to taking, let's say, 500,000 monthly gross for that role. And then maybe someone who's already earning 500,000 and knows that they're expecting 1 million. Seeing that on the JD, you will think twice before you apply. So it's also another way I filter. So there is no right or wrong. It's left for you to determine what you're trying to achieve by putting out the salary or by not putting out the salary. That cannot guide you what to do, if you should put it out or if you should not put it out. So your JD is a very practical tool. And whatever result you're trying to achieve in the course of a recruitment exercise, your JD can also, you know, contribute significantly to it. It all boils down to how you make use of that document. So thank you very much. So I'm with this to bring the class to an end, except if anyone has questions. I can use 5 minutes to answer questions and then we call it a day today. So if there are no extra questions, we'll just bring the class to a close. So the tax will be sent to everyone via email. We get the tax, and I would also send the job analysis templates so that we can use that as well when building our template. Now, the kind of template that I want is a ready-made document that you will use, because the template, the guide that I just shared with us just contains the questions. So build a ready-made document that you can use, right? And please feel free as well. This whole session is meant to be a mind shift, so don't just come back to submit a Word document form. You can also build your job analysis templates on Google Form. So if you've never done anything on Google Form before, try to experiment with that as well, because what Google Form will do for you is it retains the information. So meaning any job analysis that you conduct going forward, it would always have it in there. It will retain the information. So that way you don't have to go and start checking your files. Oh, where is the last job requisition that I did? So, but I think I'll make it explicit as to what exactly that I want, or how I needed people to go about, you know, the job analysis. So thanks everyone for today's session. Thanks for your time today. So that'll be all from me.
Thank you so very much. Really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
And you too.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
You too.